Ooh, I turned that all the way down. My bad, y'all. What's up? What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Unapologetically Black, Never Broken, Always Empowered. I am Brittany, joined by my lovely co-host, Brittany number 2, Rich, Shay. How are you guys? How y'all feeling?
I was fine until I ate that candy corn, and now I feel like I'm going to throw up.
Candy corn is amazing.
Candy corn is
like the best thing you can do with your life.
Really?
Yeah, if you want to turn your lights off.
Yeah.
I was trying to find the best way to say that.
I'm not gonna hold you. It still kind of went over my head, but we're just. I love candy corn. But we are also being joined by our lovely guest this evening, Miss Siren by night. How are you?
I'm tired, but I'm good.
Like on a spiritual level, I feel that. I understand. But we start all of our episodes off with a mental health check-in. So I'm gonna start to my left, which is Rich. Since you're right there.
Oh, directly right. I'm good, decent as any day could be. Off day, that nothing spectacular has happened. So
I feel that.
Monday. Monday.
That's all. Today, I feel that as well. I feel like everything everyone's saying is hitting me in my feels. Say how you feeling, baby?
Monday. It's a heavy meeting day for me, so I'm just getting out of something that went wrong, and now I'm here, fried, bad, and laid to the side.
We appreciate you showing up.
Of course.
Yeah, for me it's the same. I've been tired. I went to doctor's appointments for myself, doctor's appointments for Ryan. All day I'm doctored out. So is he, actually. Unfortunately, though, my baby has a touch of pneumonia, and then general just chest congestion. He had a fever over the weekend. So, yeah, it's been a rough weekend. I worked till midnight, had to be back at work at 8, and then in the course of those 8 hours, he had a fever, and I was up with him.
Who was going to be back at work at 8? Not me.
It was 8:15, actually. He was so gracious. To give me that extra 15 minutes. But yeah, so that was my weekend and my day. So that's why I'm like, yeah, I'm tired. My day was my day. Like, I'm burnt. It was Monday. Like, I understand all of that. But yeah. And our lovely guest, Miss Siren by night, if you'd like to introduce yourself and then do a mental health check-in, how's your day going?
Well, how I normally introduce myself. Hey, y'all, hey. It's Siren by night, your queen of extra, your sultan of shenanigans, and your diva of debauchery, the official HBIC of Unicorn Straight No Chaser that airs on the Head Nerds in Charge network every Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as far as my mental health, I have 3 more shows to do this week. So I'm exhausted just even thinking about it.
I feel that.
But I'm good. That's work, so I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. You putting in work, it pays off the more work you put in. So I feel you. But make sure you guys do check her out on the HNIC network on Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. And I'll plug you back again at the end, girl. I got you. So this month we have been talking about kind of the more taboo things within the Black community. So last week we talked about cults. This week we're talking about witchcraft and Black witches, modern Black witches, which is why we have the lovely Siren by night on, because she identifies as a witch, which is very interesting. I've only really had my only experience. I do have friends that are witches, but my only experiences with them, and they're only my friends because I've gone to them for spiritual advice or to have readings done. And that's about it. Like as far as my knowledge of it goes, that's where it stops. Which is better than a lot of people, because a lot of people still are stuck on what really
Answer better. Answer better than me.
You
Never
the
met a witch. Had
and
no
all.
idea that was a thing. I mean, 'cause I'm from Houston, so I've heard of, I guess what you would call like voodoo from like Louisiana and stuff like that, but I've never correlated with like being a witch. So you're the first person I've met that's actually identified as one. So.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm breaking y'all cherry tonight. Yay.
Not mine.
Pause.
I wanted to be a part of the conversation, which is why I wanted to make sure I was a part of the conversation. Because I mean, like you kind of get into it, which is it's become an identity thing. Like if you're a practitioner of something, whereas then you got the religious connotation to it. Anything that's outside of this scope is witchcraft or witchery or whatever, which is, I'm gonna say more like how if you did something outside of what the mainstream thing was, it's like an umbrella term. But now, like people actually, such as Siren, actually identify as it. So I don't go around calling myself. I don't call myself a witch, but that would be the connotation. You know what I'm saying?
The closest thing to describe what you practice. Yeah.
Okay, so then for the people like me, explain exactly what is a witch.
Well, it's someone who studies the practice of witchcraft. And then witchcraft encompasses a whole lot of things. There's a lot of different types of witches. There's a lot of different types of way to practice, but it's all just a version of witchcraft. So a lot of people don't like to use that word, but it's because of the negative connotation. It's all witchcraft at the end of the day. So you have you have hoodoo, which is from down south. You have voodoo, which would come from like New Orleans. Vodou, which is Haiti. You know, that's where voodoo is derived from, right? From Vodou, which is in Haiti. You have Santeria, which came from Cuba. So there's all these different types of ways that you can practice, but it's all witchcraft. It's all the practice of magic.
And the beautiful thing about all those ones that you named, maybe with the exception of who, all are branches of Ifa. So branches or cultural staples of Ifa. Like hoodoo, the only thing about hoodoo is more like an amalgamation of
A lot of things.
Yeah, like a lot of things. Whereas voodoo, Ifa, Santeria, Lukumi, Candomblé, it's so many Afar. You'll have like sets of rules or standards or things to go by, where hoodoo doesn't necessarily have sort of, for lack of a better word, boundary.
It's more, they're like root work. They call themselves root workers. So it's like more botanical, plant-based things. But it's always funny to me that people are afraid, African Americans are afraid of this spirituality. Like, this is our original spirituality. All of it comes from West Africa. And so if we never came here, we wouldn't be Christians, more than likely. So why are you afraid of what is actually, it is intrinsic to who we originally were and were meant to be? So, you know,
I would assume it, like from my standpoint, it's because of the vilification of witchcraft and how it came out, which is why, and then also in part of Christianity, which also vilifies witchcraft as well. Why we believe like, oh, that's a bad thing, or like stay away from it, she put like a hex or hoax on you. You know, that's what they typically say. Or what, as my uncle used to say, she gonna put a root on you. And so,
which is true.
That's what we
Yes, true. But it's funny because Christianity, like all of it that's spell work too. The Bible is nothing but a big book of shadows. That's it. We have an altar. I have an altar in my house, but when you go to church, you come and you lay your burdens down on the altar. It's the same thing. When you pray, that's a spell. It's your intention. You get what I'm saying? Anything can be a spell. It could be 3 simple words. That's a spell. When you say pray, it's a spell. It's the same thing.
I mean, and also like the history of it is like I mean, that's something we've been talking about. It came up in the cult episode. We had a religion episode before, but only Christians see what they do. Only Christians or people, I'm gonna say people who practice Abrahamic faith or more exoteric, have a more exoteric understanding of their practice. They are not who don't attribute the esotericness of it all, how it's all like the same stuff. You know what I'm saying? They the only one. Huh?
Shay, I need you to use smaller.
Hand up.
You
Exoteric.
Or at least slow down so we can catch it.
Okay. Exoteric means like the face value of what you're looking at. So it would be Christianity, right? But before there was Christianity in the Bible, it say that we are followers of the way. Well, what is the way? Some people refer that as the Gnosticism, which is the mysticism of Christianity. So that would be the more esoteric way, or how she's saying that it's a big book of shadows, a big book of spells. When we talk about hexes, right? Jesus talks about the power of the word on the tongue. That is a hex. That's not. It's saying you have personal power in your mouth, but you're not taught to look at it that way. You're taught that curses are done by people who look, act, think a certain type of way, when really it's called a curse word out of your mouth because it has a powerful connotation, and how you choose to use it is directing a certain energy to or from you. There's a whole book called the Book of Thomas that's no longer in the Bible, that is nothing but I am that I am, like affirmation type, law of attraction type stuff, but it's not there anymore because it didn't make it in the canonical, which is the Bible as we know it. In all of these verses, it didn't make it there.
This is a lot of shit.
The most I've ever known is the Salem witch trials, and they took us to Salem as a field trip.
Yep.
I'm from North Carolina, so when they took us, they're like, "Oh yeah, witches lived here, and this, that, and the third." And it was such a negative light, and I was like, "Well, I'm glad y'all brought us during the day," but I was also 7.
Well, we taught the white witches everything that they know. So we were their servants, their maids. We taught them everything that they knew. And so that's why we don't really identify as like Wiccans. That's more so for.
Is that short for white witches?
That's more so for white women. Yes, it is a earth-centric religion, but we don't identify as Wiccans. That's not something that originated with us. So we taught them the things, and then they burnt us. And most of the people that were burnt at the Salem witch trials were actually African American, but they don't speak about it.
Did not know that.
Nah, that's
not a lot of it had actually nothing to do with the fact of you being a legitimate witch,
right?
So sort of how some of it was just plain old sexism. Dude ain't get the girl, she's a witch. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's the misogynistic. A lot of it. That's all that it was. You did something to offend your master, and so now you're a witch. And then, of course, you are teaching the girl that you're taking care of, or your mistress. You're teaching them witchcraft, but they cannot side with you and say, "Hey, no, this is not evil," because they're next in line because they're women too. They're just after us. We die first, and they die after us.
So 2 questions. One might be a little bit ignorant, but bear with me. So I don't know if y'all ever seen The Originals. Have you ever seen that on Netflix? How close to witchcraft are they? Like, do movies depict almost what maybe being a witch is like, or is it like way very far off? And
you go first. I'll add if you listen.
Well, okay. My kind of follow-up question was going to be how close is witchcraft and science? Because I know from what I've read, a lot of people back in the day were considered witches, even though they were just like, back then they were like doctors, right? Or they were trying to find healing arts for it. It wasn't really the same, but they made it as so. So those questions.
How about I take the second one, you take the first one, Siren?
What was the first one? Oh, how deeply connected is the movies to real life?
Right. Yeah.
That all of that is BS.
Okay.
Like even the whole, zombies came from voodoo. That's where zombies come from. Is ZOMBI, zombie without the E. That is something that came from the slaves, right? The French, they were really, really harsh on the slaves. Obviously, they worked them to death, and so the zombie that you came to know is really derived from them saying that, the worst life that you could ever have is to be trapped in your own body and not to be able to escape slavery. So that's what the zombie was. Like, you are still alive, but you're trapped in this body being a slave to these plantation owners. That's what it came from. And then somewhere in like the 1930s, they made this movie, and of course the white people took it and made it into something completely different
than what it was.
Yes, and it had no connection to what it really.
So not even zombies are supposed to be like real. What they said zombies.
No. It's like they take an idea, the seed, and then they twist it. You get what I'm saying? Voodoo dolls is not necessarily used because you want to harm someone. A lot of times the slaves were hiding items within the doll. Everything that you see on TV and in movies, they sensationalize it. And being a witch is always equated with something dark. Of course, black witches, that is the darkest that you could be. So you're never going to see voodoo or hoodoo or Santeria. You're never going to see that in the same way that you see Glinda the Good Witch and Sabrina, and all of that is light and love and is positivity. You're never going to see black witches depicted that way. It's always shaded with something devilry, evilness. So it's not the same at all, because witches look like us. We're not always dressed in black. We're not always dressed in black. We don't always have, pentacles on us and stuff like that. You could be sitting next to a school teacher that is also, a voodooist on the weekends. Like, it's not the same thing. I have an altar in my house, but my kids don't pay it any mind at all. They don't think it's weird. They don't think it's strange at all. So it's definitely not the same things that you are seeing on TV. It's really to brainwash you and to make you think that it's something evil. But it's no different than your grandma having a prayer closet.
I thought that was kind of strange. But
that's an altar.
I thought that was kind of strange.
you thought her prayer closet it's the same thing. You know what I mean? It's because you grew up with it, and it's the mainstream religion that is not weird to you.
You don't think having a figure of a little dude sitting on a table is weird, but but if you come in my house and you see a little dude sitting on the table, you can be like, that's weird, but it's the same thing.
The strangest thing I've ever seen, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the strangest thing I've ever seen is when they do a May procession and they had a statue of Mary. This is the Catholics, and they had a statue of Mary, and they do that, and they're giving gifts to Mary, and they're praying to the statue, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Because I thought you're not supposed to worship false idols, right? Idols. It's all worshiping Mary. That was weird to me. And that was me when I was a Christian. I was just, in the Baptist tradition. That was weird to me. That didn't make sense to me. It never made sense to me that Catholics were stuck in the Old Testament, where you could not go before God. You could not speak directly to God. This is why they still go to the priest, right? They have to give confessions to the priest, because you cannot go straight directly to God and pray directly to God, because he is so powerful and his light is so bright that you wouldn't be able to survive. That was weird to me. But so anything that's not normal for you is going to seem strange. But if you really break it down and you look at all these different traditions within the religions, all of them is a little off.
And similar, which is why I identify as being agnostic, because I'm like, look, I don't know what the fuck is the truth. But it all sounds the same with different names, different like it is what it is.
Yeah, and the older I get, it's like, okay, I learned this stuff, but it is across the board. A lot of the things that we learn is across the board. It's not just one religion does this, multiple religions do it. Multiple things that you worship or you what's the other word that I'm looking for? Practice. Idolize. Everybody has the same foundation. It might not be the same person, it might not be the same thing, but you're doing the same practice across the board. And when it comes to like, it's not much that surprises me. I learn new things, but it's not like I look at people and say, hey, you're weird, or that's weird. It's just, that's who you are, and I accept it. Because you come in my house and you see stuff like, we don't have family pictures. We have this. Some people come in and say, that's weird. Who are you to tell me what I'm supposed to do?
So would you say that there's almost a direct conflict in being like, I can't be a Christian and be a witch at the same time?
I would say Christians have that mindset.
That conflict? Okay.
Yeah. It goes back to what I was saying about the exoteric versus esoteric. If like my brother, I love him to death, if you're watching this, he's very Christian. He's very Christian, but he's Christian from the point of like what he reads is just that. There's like nothing deeper than what the pastor is saying, I guess. Like to not downplay what it is, but like there's no hidden messages in that book, so to speak. Whereas I could say I'm a Christian, but he don't believe that. He don't believe that because he knows that I have not professed with my mouth that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and you know what I'm saying. I don't according to him live out the tenets in the book. But bro, I know way more about that book, way more about what's in that book than you do. Which I would say I'm more of a Christian than you are.
So I want to go back to Rich's second question, Shay, that you were going to answer.
I forgot what it was.
About the relation between science and witchcraft.
Yeah.
Unless you need him to rephrase it in a way.
My elders would say that spirituality is science. There is nothing. They're not separate entities. They're the same thing. They're trying to explain the same thing, just from two different sides of the brain. You could say.
Okay.
Also, I want to mention that there are Christian witches. That is a thing. So there are people that believe that you can be a Christian and a witch at the same time, because like I said, a lot of stuff overlaps and it is spell work. Christians don't just, they're not taught to look at it that way. And that was something I was wrestling with back and forth when I first was studying as to whether I wanted to call myself that. I decided against it, but it's and Lord, my brain, I can't think of it right now, but it's all because they argue this one passage in the Bible as to whether or not is, they're saying the witch is bad or not. And so that's where the debate comes from. It depends on how you translate the passage. But there's some people who say that it is okay and you can be a Christian and a witch. Also, I want to say where you were saying like a lot of the religions are the same. They are in the fact that they are sexist.
Yes.
Right. But within witchcraft is when you get pagan religions honor the woman. And so that's why a lot of women are turning to witchcraft, because you get your power back. We are the bearers of life, right? So they came in with Christianity and they didn't want people to worship with the pagan religions and the pagan gods because they wanted to remove the power from the woman.
That was another thing I was that was actually like some thought I had was along that same line, was like in that passage, it talks about do not perform witchcraft, don't take pharmacia, which is drugs, et cetera, et cetera. One could argue the same way your Jesus is white, that they did it. So not one could argue, they did do it. I'm just point blank period. They removed all elements. They removed elements of the divine feminine, and the ones that they couldn't get rid of, they added them in the character of Jesus that you know in the Bible. And so what this does is creates these power structures, like she's saying, in religion, where, and more so the Abrahamic faiths, to where women have no power. You are two things are happening. The man is born and he's told that he is the head and he is the spiritual head. And the woman is born and told that she is the helpmate and was born second and doesn't sort of have her relationship with God goes through her man. So in this happening, there's a why we argue about why patriarchy won't go away and all of that stuff is because it is innately built in the way the main faiths practice. When you get outside of the main faiths, you start learning that, oh no, that the way that creation story talks about is wrong or is flip-flop. And then you have learned about the fact that Adam had a first wife because the creation you see them created twice. If you read chapter 1 or 2, you'll see that he made man and female at the same time, and then later on they say it again and say he made man first and then he made woman. You could argue that's masculine and feminine energy being birthed at the same time in that first one, and then the physical manifestations being made second. Either way, throughout the Bible, you have nothing but throughout Abrahamic faith, you have nothing but a denigration of the feminine. Why is that? Same way you have a denigration of the Black people in the same kind of way. Why is that?
That was a lot. Not a lot.
Well, y'all know Adam's first wife is Lilith.
So I've heard stories. I think we were talking to Daniela, my daughter's godmom. She was the one that mentioned all of this stuff, and that's why I first heard it. And I was like, nah, you're lying. Never heard that shit. And then I Googled it. And then a lot more people were like, well, yeah, that's true. I didn't see it in the Bible when I read it. I didn't hear nothing about no first wife. I only heard about Eve. But, that's all they also teach you about. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that he didn't have a first wife, but
there's a lot of books
they damn sure omitted that part.
Yes.
No, so answer this question.
On Netflix, that's what we heard it. They really dig deep into it on Sabrina Sabrina on Netflix, and that's what we've seen, and it was like we've never heard anything like this.
Oh, and it was one more. No, it was Sabrina. Never mind. I was about to say it was one more show, but it was Sabrina.
Are you talking about the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina?
Yes, where you get mad at Sabrina every episode. Yes.
But no, Lilith. If you believe in that, Lilith did exist. If you believe in Eve, then you should believe in Lilith. Is what I'm saying. But I think it's funny that we think that you can have a god but no goddess. How do you have the masculine without the feminine?
Look, don't start asking me. I don't fucking know.
And all of these religions existed before Christianity. Mm-hmm. And I find it funny that people never notice, like, okay, well, all of these religions were centered around women as healers, as nurturers. Mm-hmm. And then conveniently the patriarchy came in and now everything is centered around the man.
Mm-hmm. So what is the male's role in being in witch's culture, right? Am I considered a witch or am I considered a wizard?
A witch. A wizard is not a thing.
A wizard's not a thing.
That's not real.
Just making sure.
A wizard is some Freemason shit. You be a grand wizard.
I figured that wizard was the male version of witch. So they made that up. Okay. So you Harry Potter.
In our tradition, men aren't called witches. Period. Like you're not called a witch. Period. But in the places where you can identify as a witch. If you practice witchcraft, you will be called a witch.
Do men typically practice witchcraft?
Men do practice, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, men practice. They just don't highlight that.
No, like the dude from Princess and the Frog. Oh, buddy.
Oh my goodness.
They give it a different name. They find every other name to give it except for a witch, but that is a gender neutral term. You're a witch. That's it.
Okay, because witch they did give witch a more of a feminine term where you say it and you automatically think of a woman.
But then you remember. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
But that's why we say in the tradition that you cannot, because it's not in any tradition that comes from Ifa, a man cannot be a witch, because it is a specifically feminine thing. It comes from there's this, when you get into occultism or studying ancient Egypt, you come across this concept called the Wajet or something like that, and they are like the women who hold up the world. Women are the no.
I think she froze.
Yeah, you froze, Lovey.
Yeah, she froze my brain.
Which I understand what she's saying, but in modern terms, there's no separation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
You froze.
I was just saying that witches would come from the Wajet or the Iyami in our tradition. But there's also places where women cannot be certain things that men, quote unquote, can be. It's okay that you can still practice witchcraft. You just would not be. You can still practice Ifa. I should say, put it in that context. You still practice Ifa. You would just be called something else. You would not be called a witch.
I mean, it'll get more nuanced depending on what you're practicing, but
right.
But in a general term, no, witch is not gender specific at all.
So when were you first exposed to witchcraft, and like what made you become a witch? Because you mentioned you grew up Christian. So at what point?
Oh yeah, I used to sing in the choir. I used to praise dance. I used to do all that. I was baptized.
I was delivered.
I was delivered. You would never believe it now.
Oh my God.
I was trying not.
So I actually met my father when I was an adult. And I met my siblings on that side when I was an adult. I always had a very strong pull to spiritual things as a child, because I didn't grow up going, like, my mom didn't take me to church when I was a kid. I went with a neighbor one time, and I really was searching for something even as a child, that I didn't have a name to put on it, but I wanted to go to church. I wanted to learn about things. So I started going with the neighbor, and then people in my family ended up going to church because of me. I was the catalyst for it. When I got older and I finally met my father's side of the family, one of my brothers ended up saying, well, yeah, we were talking on the phone. It was real random. Because, when grandmother and grandfather came over from Haiti, and I was just like, what are you talking about? And he was like, you didn't know we were Haitian? And I was like, how the hell would I know? I didn't grow up with y'all. I don't know y'all like that. Why would I know that? So
I didn't find out you was Haitian until you was old.
Yeah.
Not old.
He put the E on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't find out until I was grown. So it was funny. So I had a friend I went to school with, and she was Haitian. And I was like, girl, guess what? I'm Haitian too. And she was like, I knew it. I said, well, why the fuck you ain't tell me then? It was something that she saw, but I didn't know it. But I was always in the Caribbean clubs. I was always doing anything that had some kind of connection with it. In school,
you actually have a Haitian phenotype, your features and stuff.
Well, I know that now. I didn't know. I didn't know it then. And also, I took French Like I already was like drawn to all of these things, not knowing. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. So I was going on a journey to learn more about my Haitian ancestry. And then through that, I ended up starting to study voodoo. And then I'm like, oh, Vodun. Okay. And so it was like a rabbit hole, and I'm going and digging and getting deeper into it and all these offsets, because that's how I am. I'm like, okay, well, now I'm gonna click on this and find out about this and I'm like, I felt so very connected to it because there was something missing in church. Mm-hmm. I didn't agree with a lot of things. I didn't like, okay, well, I got pregnant, so I can't sing on the choir, right? But you wouldn't do that to the man and tell him he can't sing on the choir. Or we doing the baby dedication, we're not married, so he can't stand next to me as we dedicate the baby. There was so many things that I just didn't like and I didn't agree with, and I already had my disconnection with God, like, all right, I'm not feeling y'all no more. And it just spoke to me, and I just kept studying, and I decided that was the path I was going to be on. And Black people are something, because when I tell you that people around me did not like it, they did not like it. But I'm a very open type of person, so I don't keep things a secret. So I was like, yeah, they're like, what you listening? I'm studying voodoo. And so there you start side-eyeing me and looking at me crazy, and
not wanting to invite you anywhere.
It's
don't
just
want to explain who you are and what you do.
Thinking I'm gonna put a hex on them. Like I've had people actually is like, did you do something to me? And I'm like, what?
But it's crazy
to do that,
because people will legit mistreat you badly, especially those in church, and then get upset when you no longer want to either come back to the church or no longer want to deal with that religion. Now they mad, like, well, what God do to you? Honestly, it wasn't God. It was you. Like, you're the asshole that I no longer want to deal with. Like, it's you and the people inside of there.
I don't have church trauma like a lot of people do, but I understand the church trauma. I don't have that. I just had a point where I disconnected from it. But I don't have, like, nobody hurt me in church, so I don't have that baggage. I naturally just felt more connected to being a witch than I did to being Baptist. And don't get me wrong, there's things about church that I still like and I miss and enjoy, right? Like praise and worship and stuff. I like the songs is in my head. I like that. I still have a connection to it, but I don't think that would be me originally. If I had been given a choice from the beginning, I don't think I ever would have gone in that direction. But the knowledge of it is good.
So I got two questions. Two questions. Mm-hmm. I guess my first one, since we right here, is you said you feel like you don't have any church trauma or baggage, and before you spoke about like things happening, I guess my question is, you don't consider those things happening when you got pregnant and you had to get kicked out the choir, or you don't consider those things to be church baggage?
Well, they didn't kick me out. I already knew what it was, so I just didn't go no more.
I mean, but even I'm just saying. Well, so the regardless of the action, I mean the energy, that even having to make that decision from a community that you were part of.
I guess I don't consider it trauma because it didn't cause me pain.
Okay,
gotcha. It didn't cause me any kind of emotional pain, but I know other people that it did.
Okay,
you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm queer, but like I never had that where I had to come out to people in church and stuff like that. So you know what I'm saying? So I don't have that, but I know enough people that do, that I understand it, and I also understand the ways that the African American church has damaged a lot of people on so many different levels, like with mental health and everything. And so the most ignorant people that I encounter are people that go to church all the time, even within my own family.
Facts. And that's the second question was, you said when you was sharing your story, you shared that when you were studying, you felt like you decided that it was the path you wanted to be on. I always find that, or you seem similar to me in that once you started studying, it was like it's for me. It was like it wasn't even a decision. I don't even know that I made a conscious decision. It was I can't go back. So like that there was no way I could go back. Like it wasn't. I just was moving so fast or learning so much that it was just like I don't know what that was, but it's not. It's just not.
It's like the Matrix. You take the red pill or the blue pill. You cannot go back once you know.
Yeah. Right. So do you feel like you had that point? Do you feel like you made a conscious decision to keep studying? Because some people see it and then they be like, you know what, I'm gonna stay over here in my little corner. Or do you feel like sort of like like you said, like it was who you are and it's who you came to be. So you was just stepping into that.
Yeah. I think that's more like I didn't say like, are you gonna do this? Yes. it was just like. I think I probably just said it one day, like, yeah, I'm a witch. and I've had specific members of my family that were like, we went to church. We all went to church. Like,
right.
You can't be a witch. Like, what are you talking about? Well, I'm still going to church. Well, good for you.
I didn't say you didn't. You couldn't. That's the
right.
Nobody said you had to
do
do
a
this.
piggyback question to that, because it really based off of what you said, and in general, how you're like somebody can be a teacher and they can practice, voodoo on the weekends. Do you feel like witchcraft is a religion or a lifestyle? Like, is it all encompassing of a lifestyle, or is it like, people who are religious who only go to church, Easter and Christmas type of thing, and it's kind of like a pick and choose with religion?
I honestly think it's a lifestyle. Me personally, but like with any and all things, how people be like, well, I don't practice. I mean, there are some people who are depending on your tradition, right? Because I consider myself to be an eclectic witch because I take pieces from everything. Whatever resonates with me, that's what I do. But there are some people that are very traditional, especially if you are born into something. There's hereditary witches, like this is what we are born into. This is how we practice. There's a very specific, you're supposed to have a mentor. You're supposed to have someone to pass down the ways to you. I was not blessed enough to have that. I know that you can seek it out. I just life be life and I haven't sought that out. So I'm self-taught. Anything that I know, I'm teaching myself, and it will change as it goes. Like when I first was practicing, I was taught like you had to hit certain things on your altar. Like it was very specific things and you got to have these things or it's not an altar. And then over time I learned like, no, your altar can be anything that you want. Right. Mm-hmm. But at first you don't know. So you think
you just listen to somebody.
I got to have the male and the feminine and this, all these things. I'm finding my way. Nobody else in my family does this on either side. My sister speaks fluent French and could care nothing less about doing any of this. The funny thing is they're very much in the church, like very much in the church. So I'm very much the black sheep in more ways than one.
How long have you been practicing?
I didn't start until 2017.
Okay.
That's around the time that I started too.
Yeah, so I still consider myself to be a baby witch, quite honestly.
Yeah, because you get into it and you learn that it's so much. Like no matter how much you think you know, it's still so much more to learn and know. Or that little thing you learned, that was just a crumb somebody left you. You know what I'm saying? Like.
So another ignorant question: Are there witch organizations where you guys kind of huddle up together? And what are those like? I'm sorry if I'm using all the wrong words, but I'm only going off.
Are you talking about a coven? Are you talking about a coven?
A coven.
Yo, that's the word. Yep.
Yes.
I know that word. Got that from the originals. Yeah, a coven. So
yes, there's people. So you can be a solitary witch, or you can be in a coven. Covens are more so like when you are a hereditary witch, where you are born into it and it's a tradition and they pass it on to you. Because then you get in the hierarchies and stuff like that. You can create your own coven, but I mean, I've actually been in a coven. I'm all right being solitary.
I dated this girl who had joined the coven, but they didn't do shit. Like they just came. Like I mean, not that she's supposed to really tell me what they do anyway, but they didn't do anything. Like they just came together. It was more like a gathering every Friday or something like that. Then it
like
was
church.
actually.
Is there like a head witch?
It wasn't even like we're getting together and we're doing the work. It is a social. It was just more of a social. So it was kind of like the Friday, the party nights at the church or stuff like that.
We just came to fellowship. Yeah. No, there can be someone that is the head witch or whatever. Like I said, I was in a coven before, but it wasn't. I prefer being a solitary witch and practicing the way that I want to practice.
Is that due to structure or due to it just didn't fit how you wanted, or did you see the structure of the coven and be like, I don't think this matches what we're supposed to do? And try to answer that in the best way possible.
So they always laugh at me on my show because I say I don't like women.
Hey, I don't like women either. I can be friends with a few, but I do not like women. They get on my nerves.
So at this point in my life, I have the most female friends and associates I have ever had in my life. But traditionally, I keep male energy around me because I have a lot of male energy. You get what I'm saying? So the coven thing did not work for me. But that's not to say that it wouldn't work for other people. I think if it's structured, real structure, it can make you feel good to have other people around you that believe the same way. Same thing as church.
So yeah, I was about to say it's like church, and I was going to use go in a different direction. When you start getting into covens, groups, any type of groups, especially I'm gonna say, outside of religion, even though it's the same thing in religion, but I'm specifically talking about I'm othering everything else, I guess you would say, is that it's no rules, right? It's no real rules. It's no real regulation because we don't believe in the devil, essentially, like not in the way that y'all do. So you'll find, even though they do it in church, like I said, you'll find some of the most sometimes abusive people go where there's no regulation, and you can end up under somebody's tutelage that is, I hate this word, but a narcissist. You know what I'm saying? And it's not all bad, don't get me wrong, but I'm just speaking to why somebody wouldn't want to join a group is because it's essentially when you start doing spell work and spirituality and all this stuff, you are triaging. And if you start doing it on other people, you run in the hospital at that point. And if people sick, you're not only dealing with physical ailments, you're dealing with emotional, mental, and spiritual ailments. And shit gets mucky and nasty.
And you got to be careful with the energy that you have around you.
Yep.
But it's this. So we deal a lot with energy and spirits and stuff like that. But you know how it's the same thing with Christianity, where you having certain people in your house, people leave spirits behind. It's the same thing. You got to be careful about the energy you have around you and who you invite into your space. And when you are more in touch with that spiritual side, like as far as witchcraft is concerned, you pick up on it more easily.
Yeah, I was going to ask, have you always been sensitive to energy? Because I personally have always felt very sensitive to people's energies. Like Jamal and I, all the time, I'll be like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? He's like, I'm fine. I'm like, nah, your energy is off. Like something's off. Have you always felt kind of connected to that, or has studying it brought you closer to that?
Well, no, I was a very odd child. So I'm very into mental health. Mm-hmm. And I feel very much like witchcraft, it intertwines with mental health. When you hear people say, do shadow work is therapy. That's really all it is. You are tapping into the darker parts of yourself that you typically want to ignore and not see and acknowledge. But shadow work is really just therapy. And a lot of witchcraft is healing yourself from your traumas and things that you experienced. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be a child psychiatrist. And I always watched people, you too. I always watched people because I was just like, okay, why is this adult doing this thing? It doesn't make sense to me. And I wanted to figure it out because I came through I had a traumatic, upbringing. So I wanted to understand why my mom was on drugs and why she did this and why she did that, so I think it was a natural progression. And I do think that witchcraft is very healing in that way. So yeah, I've always been that way.
Yeah, I went to school for psychology, same thing. But then I was like, I have to keep going to school. Like, I'm good. I'm gonna stop at the bachelor.
I think it's very hard to start to study psychology and not end up somewhere in like the mysticism, the place where those things.
What the hell is a mysticism?
What?
What the hell is a mysticism? I thought you was trying to say Mississippi. What is a mysticism? Shay and her words today. Anyway,
I'm really not using big words. Are these big words?
Nigga, no. Yes.
No, they're foreign words to him, but they're not big words.
Last ignorant question for me for tonight. How often do you dabble in like spells, potions, type of deals?
How good of a friend should I be to you?
I haven't done a spell in a little while, and that's just because life has been lifing. I don't do it that often. If you had to say good witch, bad witch, right? Which I don't really believe in good and bad, because
I be telling them that
I'm gonna be whatever I'm gonna be that day. But I don't try to hurt people. I give people a lot of spells, more so than I do spells myself. But I don't do things to hurt people, but I will get you the hell up off me.
Oh, put that ass in the jar right quick.
I have an ongoing spell. I always talk about my ongoing spell because it's somebody that's in my freezer. So
you put that.
Wait. Hold on. You said someone's in your freezer?
Not literally their body.
I'm not Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, I was about to say, I want to make sure that we was a little bit clear on bodies and freezers and stuff.
Well, so two of my favorite spells are freezer spells and sour jars.
Yeah, put their ass in a jar. Put their ass right in the fucking jar.
Right. So if you ever find a jar with items in it, don't touch the jar. Leave the jar alone, especially if it's at a cemetery.
You brought up a point that I would like everybody to know. Don't pick up shit. Don't pick up shit in random places. Okay? Don't pick up money. Okay? Sometimes leave them pennies 3, especially if it's like 3, more thrown in the air. Leave them alone. Just leave them alone. Stop picking up shit. Stop picking up shit and bring it home. Okay?
You sound like somebody, mama. Leave shit alone.
Today.
I'm telling you some spiritual hygiene shit. Don't do it. Leave it alone.
A freezer spell is if you don't want to hurt someone, but you want them to leave you alone.
You freezing their energy.
Yeah. So you have to keep it frozen in your freezer. So if I move, I have to take this and put it in the freezer again to keep this person
away from me. Until you want that person to be around you again.
I don't want that person to be around me. So they're gonna stay in the freezer. And it has been working for years.
I got a couple people I want to put in my freezer.
Put them in the freezer, baby. When I say that we had the same friend circle and I don't never see this person, I don't never hear this person, we don't never cross paths at all, because they in the freezer. I don't want to hurt you. Just stay the hell away from me, so I don't have to hurt you. Now, a sour jar, you want to do some harm, the degree of harm.
This one I want more.
Okay, here's the thing. I do believe in karma. So don't do no evil so you don't get no evil. When you do things and you put certain energies out there, that's what keeps me from, going Ursula on people. The energy you give out, you get back. And you don't have to be a witch to believe in it, right? Our bodies are not, this is all energy. That's all it is. And so when you put things out into the universe, it's going to come back to you. And if it don't come back to you, it's going to come back to your children. It's going to come back to somebody in your generation. So that's how I operate. I'm very strategic on what I do because I know that somebody has to pay for it at some point, and it might not be me.
And that's like you can be in defense, and that might even be a slippery slope depending on the situation. But you can being the aggressor in a spell or spiritual or ritual or whatever is not really a good thing to be like, because like she's saying, somebody gonna pay for it eventually.
That's what y'all call generational curses. That's what that is.
Oh,
I thought it was just people being assholes. Okay.
We get that off of.
No, a lot of times people think of generational curses as just some mental health shit or some trauma that didn't get dealt with. And yes, it is, but also it's stuff that your peoples was just out here doing. Whether you have more responsibility. So now that you've been told this, if you go try to put somebody in a jar and you have intent to hurt them, you are now responsible for that. You are responsible for that energy. You can't. And so sometimes your people was just out here doing stuff all willy-nilly, and they gotta pay for it. Somebody gotta pay for it just because there's a price, there's a cost to everything that we do.
You might not pay on the front end, but you won't pay on the back end. So that is a lesson, which is also why I like to keep protective things around me. Because I know my mom probably done did something.
Skip me, move on to the next nigga.
Get her.
Well, my final question, and we've kind of answered it throughout, but do you believe that anyone who has an interest can become a witch, or is it a calling? Is it an invitation, or is it just do your studies? And
some people have divine gifts. Some things are you just have a divine gift for it. Everybody is not going to be on the same level, but if you are interested in it and you study it, then there's no reason why you can't engage in witchcraft at all. You, like any and all things, you have to study. When you go to church and you want to get baptized, they make you take all these classes to learn certain things. It's the same thing. You just. Well, I know I did. I did too.
I had to go to classes and shit.
I had to go to classes.
All they say is who want to be baptized, they dunk them. But I've never been baptized either. So.
Okay.
But they make me do nothing.
Really?
Put me underwater and pull me back up.
Oh, okay. But
there's nobody gatekeeping though. So
there's nobody gatekeeping witchcraft.
Yeah, nobody's gatekeeping.
Yeah, nobody. So you learn at your own pace and you study what you want to study. You know what I mean? But there's some people do have divine gifts. Some people are really good at tarot. Some people are good at bone throwing. It depends. Some people see things. I myself am an empath, and I could be stronger in my gifts. I just am not working as hard as I should be or I could be.
It's a lot of work though, building that.
Yes.
Like you said.
Yeah. Because when I was younger, I used to see things. I don't see things now. but I don't know if I had emotional bandwidth for it right now. So that's a whole nother conversation.
Not even gonna hold you. This is a good conversation. It makes you like really look at yourself and say, hey, I might not practice, but the energy, I have that all day. If your energy is off, I will shrink down. Not because I'm intimidated, but because I don't want to be around it.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing stuff. It's like sometimes I have dreams and I'm like, oh, okay, that felt real. And then later on have the same thing happen. And I'm like, So with you saying that, it's kind of like,
do you write?
You said what?
You should probably start writing your dreams down. Keep a dream.
Write it down. And like saying, don't look at me like that. Same dreams. I have the same dreams about certain stuff, and I've started studying my dreams, but I'm like, maybe I should look in other places.
Keep the book by your bed, so that when you wake up in the morning, because you forget. I hate you don't write it down right away. I'll be like, God, what happened? But it's a message. Like your dreams are messages. And you just have to learn how to interpret them. And that's always been a thing. If you got people from down south, a lot of this stuff is not as strange to you. My grandma stayed, but she had a dream book. She stayed with the dream book. Now she was using it to play the numbers, but she
I have an aunt or three that do that. They're like, oh, I seen these numbers in my dreams. Go to South Carolina and play the numbers. Wait, what?
I mean, so you write down your dreams, keeping track of your dreams or studying your dreams is not inherently
right
any particular thing. We just heard you say something and telling you how to start better harnessing that thing because it's there.
I take all advice. I don't, like I said, I don't.
You can find stuff on the internet to help you.
I feel judged, but I'm not judged.
You're not judged here. You're judged in your own home.
You do got the judge face though.
You're not judged in my home, Shay's home, or Siren's home. Okay.
He got the look on his face that my coworkers had when I told them I cosplay and stuff, and they was just like, "What? Black people do that?"
Listen at the person that's talking. I'm not judging.
I feel judged,
but
I don't.
I want to make sure I say this though, so I don't forget. When you're studying your dreams, you can find things on the internet that tell you what certain things mean. Like, oh, if I see a dog, it means this. If I see a dude, it means this. That's cool, but you have a relationship to those things that exceed what any simple book will tell you something means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Meaning, like if you see rich in your dreams, the internet don't know who rich is or what rich means to you. Rich being in your dreams means something specific to you. It's the same way I have a relationship with Rich. If Rich shows up in my dream, I'm like, oh, I need to stop being an asshole or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that might be my association. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, like one of mine, and I don't mind sharing it, is snakes. I have a lot of snake dreams. I'm terrified of snakes. When I look that up, it's because someone in your circle or around you is being real sneaky. They're being very, different things like that. And I'm like, well, who is it? Because clearly I'm cutting people out, but I keep having a dream. And it's something that I'm studying. It's something that I've been in therapy for. It's like, what is going on?
So look, if you don't have a conclusion to that, let me show you something. I don't have that relationship to snakes.
Me neither. I love snakes.
Yeah, I have two snakes. So when I see snakes in my dreams, and snakes, literally the symbol means transformation. Only in Christianity, really. Only in Christianity do you find snakes meaning something bad or symboling something bad. And everybody else, they will tell you it means transformation. Because they shed their skin and become anew. The cosmic serpent, that's like this. We can't get into that. That's too long. But it's like the earth, the cycle of the universe renewing itself. Snakes, rebirth. Yes, snakes have a lot to do with birth and rebirth. So when I see a snake, I go, what's the color? What's the pattern? What was it doing? You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Maybe that's why if you can't get any closure to somebody being sneaky, maybe it is not them necessarily being sneaky. Maybe you needed to have this particular conversation and get a new idea. Not to say you would stop being scared of snakes, but a new idea, and can probably place it a little bit different in your drink.
Mine isn't a religious scare, by the way, with snakes. I don't like reptiles of any kind. I don't like snakes. Spiders. I don't like anything outside. I don't like it. It scares me.
No. I just when I was saying that, I meant when you looked it up, it said somebody was being sneaky. Yeah. I just meant that connotation is normally only something you get from religion because of the story.
Right. It wouldn't always mean that. Because Shay, I'm the same way. I love snakes. Like I used to breed them and all of it. Like I get excited when I see a snake. Shay, what's your daggone sign? Because we got a lot of stuff in common.
Scorpio.
That's my rising sign.
Hey, turn up.
Look, they make it face.
Trying to hang it up. They about to Brittany about to be motherfucking doing light as a feather, stiff as a board tomorrow.
All right, hey.
We're still scared.
I have not met a singular bulletproof witch. I swear to God.
No.
See your ass floating?
Well, a lot of it is about manifesting things.
Yeah,
it's the power of manifesting. But so, like, when Christians always say, "Okay, you say something negative," and they be like, "I rebuke that," because you believe that there's power in your words. That's because anything is a spell if your intention is for that to happen. You get what I'm saying? I was in a car accident, and my ex wished that morning that I would be in a car accident at work. Right hand of God. We argue about this because he said, I wish that you would die. And I said, no, you wish that my ambulance would flip over. Tomato, tomato. I know what I heard. My ambulance flipped over. That same day. And that's when I was still in church, Christian and all that. That's us. He cast a spell on me because when he said that shit, he was really mad at me. So there is intention and power in your words. You can manifest things and not even be trying. That's why I always tell people to be careful what they say.
Yeah, one of my biggest things that I'm careful to say until I am ready for the answer is reveal and unveil. Once I say it, I have to prepare myself before I can even let it slip out of my mouth, because every time that I say it, it is revealed and it is unveiled on what it is that I need to see. And I'm like, hey, the first time I ever said it, somebody told me, they were like, listen, you just need it all to come out. And they were like, reveal and unveil. I was like, that's strong. Let me say it. I wasn't prepared. And I fell into like the biggest depression because I'm like, how is all of this even happening up under my nose? And I didn't even know. The second time I did it, I was like, okay, now there's a pattern. The third time I said it, I had to mentally, it took me 2 weeks before I could actually say it. So, that and manifestation is something that I have started doing in my journaling. Things that I want to see happen between now and the age of 40. And just taking steps to do that. So, again, it all sounds the same to me. Just different words.
Mm-hmm. And witchcraft or other practices give you other tools to put energy behind you, because we manifest all day, every day. That's just how our brains work, period. Right. But it's literally saying, okay, I want this, or I want this to come, I want this to go, get off me, or whatever. And you're using herbs, oils, candles, animals, whatever, mirrors, whatever your practice has in it to do those things. People using tarot cards, whatever, and that's divining, but all that to do it. So that's why we were saying in the beginning, it's they all have the same bones. So it's a similar skeleton. The bodies just look different.
Right.
Yeah.
And just having the control and the power over your life. Like, it puts the power back in your hands. And just like, God, give me a man. God, give me a car. God, give me you get the power back over a lot of things.
And Sierra's prayer. Get your manifest on.
But you have to be specific. One thing that I have learned when manifesting, you have to break down exactly what you are looking for. Within the learning within my Christian religion is, you ask for a man and you get the man, he just ain't shit.
Exactly.
But then and now he did what you told him.
Does he not have a penis?
He ain't said it had to work either.
Yeah, it didn't have to work. He just got one that dangles. It's just there. I've had it happen recently. I'm looking for a job and I'm like, hey, why can't I get a job interview? And I'm praying and I'm like, God, I just want a job interview. He gave me the job interview, just didn't give me a job. I'm like, hey, wait a minute.
Exactly.
You knew what I meant. You know what I mean. You know my heart.
That's hilarious. Well, this conversation was truly enlightening, I think, for everybody. Honestly, I'm gonna keep it a stack. We haven't had an interview in months because they were trash. So we appreciate you and your knowledge and your energy. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Y'all got to come on my show too.
7:30 is a good time for me.
It get a little nasty over there though.
That's neat.
First half, mental health. Second half is debauchery. So, y'all definitely got to go on the episode, and we will get into some shenanigans and stuff over there.
Sounds like fun.
If she shenan once, she'll shenan again.
But so my friend just gave me a book that I don't know if y'all saw on TikTok. Everybody,
that's the one.
That's the one I just put in. I just put it in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Say that's the one from TikTok. Everybody has it.
Yeah, my kid's father got me this book to make me feel better, and I'm like, so you gave me a book about all my flaws? Like,
I would say
I'm working on them bitches.
That's the first edition. I just got the second edition. Supposedly, it has more stuff in it than the first one.
Okay.
So y'all if y'all get it, get the second one, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, this is the first one. But it's good. It's a good book. Like, I'll go to therapy anyway. And thank God I got a therapist that's very, very, as I like to call her, witchy. Like, we can't discuss her private life, obviously, but a lot of things she says, I'm like, you into it too. So I'm here, like, we're a perfect match. So that and my shadow work works really good together. But I appreciate y'all having me on. This has been a good conversation.
I agree. Tell them where they can find you one more time.
So you can find me on the Head Nerds in Charge Network on all Head Nerds in Charge platforms. We're on Twitch, YouTube, and multiple Facebooks. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, it's Unicorn Straight No Chaser. We talk about mental health in the African American community in various different types of ways. And we also talk about sex. But when we talk about sex, we talk about the psychiatry behind it, right? The psychological things that make us do the things that we do, and so we can erase the stigma. Okay, so you like a little golden shower. All right, there's a reason why. We don't kink shame. We just want to explain to you, make that connection as to why you might like golden showers or impact play, or bugs crawling on your penis. Yes, I said what I said. That's a thing too.
It's a thing. It's a thing.
That's the thing.
I want you to repeat it, but I'm scared.
They take maggots sometimes. And you know what?
I'm just gonna tune in. That's just what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tune
You can watch the replays. Go to the Head Nerds in Charge on YouTube. Watch all of the Unicorn Straight No Chaser replays. I promise you are going to be like, what the hell? Yes.
I'm typing it in right now.
Right now.
Tomorrow we are going to be talking about urophilia, which is Water sports.
Water sports.
Water sports.
Y'all know what that is.
Rich probably like, who is this person? Who is my wife? Where did she go?
That's hilarious. Well, make sure you guys like, follow, and subscribe on all major platforms for us. We are on Facebook. We are on YouTube. We are on Instagram. We are on X or Twitter or whatever. But make sure you follow us there for more content like this. On Wednesday of this week, the Better Half show starring Brittany and Asia and myself will be premiering. So make sure you guys check that out. Thursday, we have our live trivia. This week will be horror movies part 2. So definitely run there. And then this weekend, you can check out the guys on the Blurred Trap House talking about, I think, Bleach or something. I don't know. Rich isn't here.
I don't know where Rich went to. So, well, no.
We're talking about something anime related.
We're going to do shadow work. I don't know.
Exactly. He ran off to go do some shadow work or something of the sort. He needs it. But until next time, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay unapologetically Black. Have a good night. Peace.